I've built sales organizations in a lot of different industries, 12 in fact, and selling IT services is hard. But there are some distinct differences and patterns that you will see between the people and the companies that are consistently crushing it in sales and the people and the businesses that are consistently not crushing it in sales. And I'm going to break down in this video 7 patterns, like very specific things that I've seen that differentiate the people that are doing really well from the people that aren't. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former managing director of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and CEO for Investor Groups, now founder of MSP Sales Partners, where we help IT companies scale sales. And with them, I lead sales coaching, sales training. Last year alone, I ran 192 sales trainings with people who are selling IT services, and I have access to the sales data. Like I have access to the sales that they're reporting so I can see what they're doing and what they're not doing. I can see the sales data. I can see what correlates to high performance and what doesn't. And I've seen some really interesting patterns emerge over the past year or two. And I'm going to highlight 7. They're very distinct and incredibly consistent that I'm going to share with you that differentiate the top performers from the bottom performers. And the first one is addressing price early and confidently is something that the best people are consistently doing. Now, a lot of people go into this sales process and they think $2,500 a month is a lot. When they find out the price, I'm going to try to withhold this information until the very end. So they end up running this very laborious process, right? They go in, maybe they do a qualifying call, then they do a little bit of research, then they show up and do, an hour-long discovery. They then work on a proposal, then they go to the proposal meeting, and they wait until then to address price. And they wait until the very end, after they've invested all of this time. And it's very possible, in fact, probable, that if you've not talked about price, even floated a range at all until the very end, the sticker shock that can happen at that point means all of your time was completely wasted. The best salespeople are addressing price early, they're addressing it often, and they're addressing it confidently. They are not hiding behind the fact that their services cost money and they're not the cheapest game in town. And they want to get that kind of out of the way up front. Like they don't have to give a specific number, but they oftentimes say, well, companies your size are typically investing X percent, or, the industry average for your industry is people are investing X percent. Or they say, hey, companies your size are oftentimes investing between this and this. Is that completely out of range? They're doing something like that very early on. In fact, a lot of the bigger IT companies are actually just putting it on their website. Like as a first line of defense, you get to the website, you actually fill it out and says, hey, fill out a form for a free quote. Here's what we estimate, but this is an estimate. We really need to do an assessment and understand, what the situation is and how many stations you have and what you really want. And if that number scares you, that's okay. Like you can go to somebody else. And what they're doing is they're pushing those people back to the market where a lot of smaller IT providers are going, gosh, I can't get new customers. I'm going to fight over the cheapest people. Meanwhile, all these other companies are grabbing all the profitable companies and stacking them into the MRR model. So if you want to crush it and you want to make the best use of your time and you want to attract the best clients and you want to run the most efficient and optimized sales process, then address price early and address price confidently. Don't be ashamed of the fact that you charge money, and hopefully good money and profitable money, because if you're not charging enough, you go out of business or you skimp on services. And that means that shit rolls downhill and you skimp on their services and you skimp on their security and all the other stuff that goes with that. Don't be ashamed of the fact that you make money. The second pattern that I've seen, the top performers don't confuse networking and prospecting. If you're a full cycle salesperson, you're responsible for going out and getting your own deals, or you're working them through the system, you're nurturing them and you're meeting, potential clients at, networking events, things like that. If they are leveraging networking and they're a top sales performer, they are doing it intentionally. They are not making the mistake of thinking, you know what? If I just go to all these chamber events, all these golf outings, and all these, networking events, like whatever it is, if I just go to these, then automatically these people are just going to turn into leads. That's not how it happens. That's like me sitting on LinkedIn and just sending connection requests to people going, man, I hope they buy something. If I just talk to enough people without any intention, without any scripting, without a playbook, without deliberately moving them through some kind of process that I have into a customer. That's not how it works. Like, you've got to run a process. And the top salespeople, they are networking. They are going to events. They are going to these networking deals, and they are showing up to these virtual calls, and they are starting new connections. They are doing it with the distinct goal of turning this connection into a sale. You're in business, and your job is to sell. Your job is to maximize revenue, which then maximizes your income, whether you're the salesperson or the business owner. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the fact that I am here to start a business relationship. This doesn't mean I've got to spam you if it's a digital thing right away. It doesn't mean that as soon as I meet you at a networking event, I've got to be like, oh, hold on, let me get my plans. Like, here are all the plans. Are you ready to buy something? That's not how it works either. But without intention, networking is just networking. You'll end up with a whole bunch of contacts. You'll end up with a whole bunch of people. But that doesn't mean that you're their first call for IT services. When you build this massive list of people who aren't qualified and people who don't have any intent and people that you're not intentionally nurturing through the cycle and kind of disqualifying along the way and saying this is a real opportunity and this is not a real opportunity, you're not being honest with yourself, you end up with this huge unmanageable list. You want opportunities, you want sales, not friends. Hopefully you've got your own friends, but you know what? Sell them something good, deliver something good, and they'll love you forever. That's a good way to make some friends, but don't confuse networking and prospecting. Networking can be a form of prospecting, but only if it's intentional. And if you want to make it intentional, have categorization, right? Like, take people and say, all right, is this person even in my market? Like, are they in my demo? Are they in my vertical? Are they even an MQL, a marketing qualified lead? Like, if they're not, okay, like, it's just a contact. Cool. Then look at it and say, okay, can this ever be an opportunity? Right? Is there a potential opportunity here? Did they mention anything about IT? Are they at a company that we like to target? Are they in the vertical that we like to go, like that we like to target? Are they the size of company that we like? Did they potentially mention, we're going to be looking at IT in a year or two? And then is there a real opportunity? Then you look at it and you say, what's the specific next step that I need to do to move that forward? And when you do that, then a lot of volume can actually help because you're bringing it in, you're filtering, you're organizing, and you're segmenting your list down to something that's manageable, something that you can actually follow up with, and something that qualitatively has a high probability of return because you've done at least an honest job of saying, hey, there's a few different categories. Came out of here with 12 contacts, really only one prospect. And that is how the top salespeople are looking at it. Top performers don't confuse presenting information with closing a deal. The process of selling your services is a consultative sales process. There's usually multiple steps. It's not necessarily a one-call close unless you got some inbound traffic, all that stuff. It's usually, you've got a couple touch points along the way, and it ends in some deal where you're presenting information. You're presenting a slide deck, you're presenting a PDF, you're giving some sort of presentation, you're walking them through, hey, based on everything we've learned, this is why you should buy from us, and here are the plans. And at that stage, you can do one of two things. You can present the information and then leave it for them. Like, hey, I've presented all the information. It's now in your hands. So I'm just going to step aside from the process and let you guys decide and just let me know where you land. Or you can make it your objective to, one, move them towards a decision, and then two, make that decision favorable to buying your stuff. I was actually auditing a $10 million IT company recently, and I was listening to some of the sales calls. We were auditing the whole process, and I'm listening to some of these calls. Pretty good process. Like, I actually got to listen to the discovery and then all the way through. But at the end, at the end of this presentation with the slides, the salesperson says, "All right, well, I'm guessing you guys probably want to think about this, and we'll follow up. So, do you want to get something scheduled for like a week from now, something like that?" Like, he didn't ask for the sale, and I made a video about it because I was like, no, I didn't even ask for the sale. But even if you're asking for the sale, don't necessarily take the first response and say, okay, well, cool. Like, hey, we want to think about it. All right, cool. I'll let you think about it. You want to touch base next week, or you could say, hey, that's phenomenal. I think that's great. Hey, just for my own understanding, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how do you feel with 10 being, hey, we're ready to sign a contract right now, and 1 is like, please don't call me again ever. Where are you at on this? Like, can I just get a sense of where you are? And you use that to start a conversation where they say, oh, we're at a 6, because it's usually like a 6 or 7, because they don't want to tell you that they don't like you. They don't want to tell you because you're a salesperson that they're ready to buy. And so it's like 6 or 7. Okay, awesome. Like, and then you use that, you leverage that. What would it take to make it a 10? There are a handful of different closes that you can use to actually move people to a decision. What you can't forget is that your job isn't to present information. As a salesperson, your job is to get a decision. Now, that decision's not always going to land in your favor. It's just the nature of the beast. But No decision is where so many of these deals go to die. And it's because the salesperson thinks the objective is present all the information and then exit, right? And it's not. It's to present the information in a compelling and persuasive way and then lead that prospect to make an actual decision, which, by the way, is the hardest part of sales. And when sales really starts, a lot of people are qualified to present this information. Now, I'm sure up to this point, if you ran a decent discovery and you put together a good proposal, like there's some things that you did from a skill set standpoint, but there are way more people that are qualified to present that information than there are capable of saying, now let's move them to a decision and let's make the probability of that decision being in our favor as high as humanly possible. Top performers understand all roads lead to discovery. Everything that happens towards the end of the deal can be traced back to something in discovery, which means if you are constantly fine-tuning your discovery process based on the feedback that you're getting at the end of the sales process, you will eventually run an optimal, kick-ass, smooth as shit discovery that helps you close more deals, because you will learn every objection that you're getting, every smoke screen that you're getting, everything that happens at the end of that call. You go, how did that happen? Damn it. You go back and you change something in your discovery process to ensure that that doesn't happen again. Let me give you an example. You go through your process and you get to a deal, and somebody's at the end of this deal, somebody says, we're going to do this. We're just not ready to move forward right now. Like this isn't a huge priority for us yet. Like, so how about we revisit in a few months? As a salesperson, I look at that and I go, how did that happen? And what can I do in discovery to ensure that that doesn't happen again? In other words, can I go back and add a question in my discovery process that says, hey, what makes this a now issue, by the way? Like, why are we chatting now, not 6 months ago, 6 months from now? And there's always a reason. Like, there's a reason. If somebody gets on even a 10-minute qualifying call for you, there's a reason. People do not just get on calls for the hell of it. They do not just get on calls to waste their time. If they are on that call, it's for something. At minimum, it's an element of curiosity, but there is a reason that they're taking the call. And by the time you get to proposal, they've invested some time into this. We want to know at the beginning from the discovery process, how do we avoid that objection later? I'm going to ask that question in discovery so that if and when it comes up later, I'm confused. When we talked, you said such and such. And this, you can do this with everything. You can do this with, well, I don't actually make the decisions, so-and-so makes the decision. So I got to talk to them and, can I add something in my discovery process that gets that out, right? That identifies that. Almost everything that you can imagine can be addressed in discovery with a process that's been fine-tuned over a period of time. The best people are using discovery like a damn ninja. Like in discovery, you can actually take the time to understand their buying process. So like, tell me how this works. Like, who do you typically discuss these with? Like, how does this play out? Right? Like, those are things that you can learn early in the process that affect your chances later in the process. But the bottom performers just kind of run through discovery like it's a check the box exercise. And then they don't use any of that information, or they don't get the relevant information. And if they do, they don't necessarily use it to tailor the presentation and tailor the proposal and the sale to the actual person that you're selling to. My best advice there is don't shortcut it. Don't try to use your assessment as the discovery. It's not a good enough tool on its own, despite what all the vendors say. I'm sorry. Make sure you give yourself enough time and don't skip it. Right? Like, even if somebody comes in hot and they're like they look and they seem like they've got high intent, you might want to slow it down just a little bit. Let me ask a few questions. Like, let me make sure, because I can't tell you even how many of those deals end up lost later because something wasn't unpacked on the front end. The fifth thing is, the best salespeople know their unique selling points. They know what differentiates them. They know why buying services from them is going to be different. They have a good lock on a real USP, not something that everybody else is claiming. So a really good example of this is in a training room with a bunch of IT companies. You can say, like, hey, who knows their unique selling points? Like, how are you differentiated? Why are you different? Why are you better? Why should somebody buy from you and not from somebody else? And you get like some hands that go up. Well, our customer service is great. We love our customers. We have somebody that answers the phone. Okay, who else in this room can say that same thing? And it's like half the room does. Well, yeah, like just about all of it's the same. If you go in there, you think that's unique, then you are commoditizing yourself. And the best salespeople are doing everything that they can to differentiate themselves, because the premiums are earned in differentiation. Okay. You don't earn premiums on the commodity. By definition, Commodities are based on price. It's basically, I'm thinking I'm going to get the same basic thing, so let me just get it at the cheapest price. It's just a very rational buying process. So what you need to do is you need to understand what makes us different. Do you have some proprietary tech stack that's not accessible to anybody else? A specific culture within your organization that makes you execute better? Do you have awards? Do you have CSAT scores and customer satisfaction scores? Do you have more Google reviews? Do you have unique plans? Do you have a unique billing method? Do you have no contracts? Do you have a kick-ass guarantee? Do you have something that really makes you different? And when you think you have it, right? Like go get 3 to 5 bullet points. You say, you know what? These are going to be our best angles. Like when we're talking to people, these are going to be our best angles. You know what? We've got a dialed in onboarding process, and we can have everybody up and running in 10 days or less with, X number of hours invested, like whatever it is. Then I challenge you, go look at 5 other providers, like service providers in the area, and say, do they have the same? Could they claim that they have the same thing? Like that's how you really know that you've got a unique selling point, is when you have something that they can't even claim that they do, right? Because it's something proprietary. It's something that only you can do. It's something that's based on your strengths. It's something strategic. It's something in a market. And this is especially true if you're charging any premiums, right? If you know that you're one of the higher priced games in town, which by the way, fucking awesome. You should be. That's how you make the most money. But you got to be able to tell people why you charge more. Very rational. If I don't understand as a buyer the key differences between different providers, and one comes in at 30% higher than another one, then I'm just going to, I think I'm going to go over here. If I don't understand what's involved in that. But if you can help me understand how that benefits me, how that adds value to me, how that keeps me safer, it keeps my systems running faster, it keeps them running more efficiently, improves communication, helps my profitability, does something that helps me. What are the things that only you can claim? What are the things that allow you to earn more in terms of rates and what you're charging, and position you as the obvious choice for the perfect ideal client that you're actually targeting? What are those things? Dial them in. My point being, identify what already makes you unique, and then think about it from a sales and strategy standpoint as you operate. What are things that we can install into our operations that allow our salespeople to then go out and position us as the obvious and the premium choice for our ideal clients? Okay, the 6th thing that the top salespeople are doing that the bottom salespeople aren't, they are understanding their competition and the other players in their market in a different way, at a different level than anyone else. They do research, like they go through, like they know who, like they've been on their website. They know what their unique selling points are, right? Like they look at the competitors and like they're going to consistently use this initial block of hours that they have as their introductory offer. That's what they're going to use as their advantage. How am I going to strategically address that? They understand the market. They identify who the players are. Then they look at it and say, okay, what are their advantages? Well, we know they're the cheapest game in town. Well, that's a thing, right? Like to compete against that. So where are they slacking? Right? Like where are their weaknesses? And they're doing the actual research. Now, what I used to do with teams is we would build up battle cards, right? Like get on the whiteboard, name every one of our major competitors that we hear in objections. First week, we're going to go do some initial research. Let's go identify what we think their USP looks like, at least from the outside. Okay. So then you create little profile cards so you understand your market and how to play in your market and play to win. Then the next week, maybe you go do funnel hack them. Like go through the booking process and look at the introductory offers and look at some of the marketing, and you just build up this arsenal of information as you go. And then the next time you walk into a prospect's office and they say, oh yeah, well, we're with so-and-so already and we're thinking about changing. Ideally, you already know what their weaknesses are. And you could say something like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, what's leading you to consider that? Is it the boom, boom, boom? I mean, they're a good company. Like, you don't badmouth. Like, I'm sure they're a good company. I've just been selling this a lot, so I've heard that. So that's not new to me. What you've done is you've confirmed their concern. Like, oh shit, like I feel validated. Like, so we're not the only person going through this. And you promoted yourself as somebody who now knows the industry. Right now, you're not just everyday salesperson, like you're a professional, maybe even have some information that might help me make a decision. Now, how do they get that information? You can go get whatever's public, right? Like you can do some on AI is like a great tool right now. Perplexity is a tool that kind of it's like Google search on steroids. So you can go in and say, like, tell me everything that you can about, a certain competitor or a certain company. But a lot of the really juicy information actually comes from asking your prospects to give you the agreements. Right? Don't be a chicken. Hey, I'm not sure where we're at and, where our agreement is or how many months or what the term is, or, I'm not really clear when you ask them about what they're investing now or what their budget is now or how they're paying. And they're like, well, I don't know. It kind of changes. Okay. Do you know if you're charged when, a new employee starts or not? I'm not really sure, Joe. I tell you what I could do for you if you want is I could take a look at the agreement for you and tell you kind of what you're up against, like what the terms are going to be. And it would actually help give an apples to apples comparison because every IT company charges just a little bit differently. And so it gets confusing for you. So if you have it, I'm happy to scan it and give you a look and make it a little bit easier for you. Now, when I get my hands on those agreements, now I can really see what the bells and whistles, all what's happening and the rates. Will everybody give me that agreement? No. And I know a lot of you right now are going, I'm not going to ask. That's like super uncomfortable. And people are going to tell me to fly a kite in a snap. Okay, you might be right. Sometimes like they may say, no, I'm not comfortable giving that to you. That's fine. Don't be a chicken though. Don't be a chicken about this because the information that you get is a gold mine, is a wealth of information to help you in your long-term sales strategy. So ask, and if you get it half the time, you're getting crucial information that's going to help you make a lot more money later on. Now, here's the other thing about this. Where you ask and when you ask in the process matters. Because if I say, hey, here's what we're going to do, and I've got an hour set aside today, we're going to go through some stuff. By the way, can I have a contract of your current provider? And you're like, who the fuck are you? Like, nah, I'm good. Okay, I don't trust you. You haven't established any rapport. You don't have any credibility. You don't have any authority. No. So you don't want to ask before you've had the chance to earn a little bit of credibility, build some rapport, and I mean real rapport, like actual reputational. I believe you know what you're doing, not like chummy rapport. But like once you've established some of that trust, you can ask. And when somebody doesn't want to give you an agreement, it can be a symptom of, hey, you know what? I haven't established enough trust here. Like that's a flag, actually. Okay, the seventh thing. This is the most controversial. This is the one. I know a lot of you go, no, okay, there is zero correlation between going first in the process of presenting your proposal and going last in the process of presenting your proposal. This is one where you say, wait, is this a difference between the top and the top people are always going first, so they're trying to go first, they're trying to go last, and the bottom are? No, it's a placebo. It's a complete placebo because it is split. What I have found, the difference is the people that think going first matters tend to win more deals where they go first. And people that think that they win more deals when they go last tend to win more deals when they go last. When you're first and you like going first, it's great. Like you're like shot in the arm, like boom. All right, I got this. Like my probability is pretty good. The problem arises when you think going first helps you close more deals and you've got a really big deal and you know who you're up against. And so you're already kind of like, and you are now going last. Right. And so that placebo helps in one way, but in another way, it can really work to be counterproductive. The thing that I have seen with the top salespeople and the bottom salespeople is they take that placebo and they leverage it when it's in their favor and they ignore it when it's not. They don't get overly superstitious about this thing. Somebody is going to argue with me. They're going, no, I was up to this point with you, Ray, but I can tell you definitively going first always matters. And here's why. And going last always matters. And here's why. And I get it. I've heard it. I've heard all of them, but there really isn't. It's a situation. Like a lot of times, hear people like, oh, Fridays suck for sales, and then somebody else says, Fridays are awesome for sales. Well, guess who sells more on Friday? Probably the second person. So this is me saying, don't let it get in your head. In fact, no, this is me saying, let it get in your head when it helps you sell more stuff. Don't let it get in your head when it doesn't help you sell more stuff. All right, so there you have it. 7 patterns that I have seen that distinctly differentiate the people who are doing really well in sales and selling the most and the people who aren't. I would love to know if you have any questions on this. If you do, drop them in the comments below. I take a look at those and I will either record a new training or video for you or shoot you a note in the comments if I have some feedback. And I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, feel free to check out my MSP Sales Toolbox. It's actually just a collection of sales tools, forecast models, sales interview questions, playbooks. I take all my resources and I basically plug them in there and you get lifetime access to all of them. And the link to do that is in the description below, I think. So feel free to do that 100% free. Just drop in your email. We send you access to all the stuff and then you have access to it forever. And I put new stuff in there at least every month. Like when I'm doing these videos, when I have like a new template or something, I just usually drop in the same place. So go ahead and jump into that and subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video. Adios.